Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to be hosting one of our first WS Lab live Google Hangout sessions. I'm here joined with the fabulous and illustrious Silicon Valley leader, Ari Horie. She is our CEO and founder of Women's Startup Lab. She'll be taking you through a short session today, exploring and going beyond funding. So we're excited to see and hear her insight, and please feel free to post your questions within the chat and we'll do our best to try and address them. So thank you, and we'll get ready to kick off.
Hi, everyone. We'll have this live session. This is actually first time. We did a Periscope before, so I shouldn't say this is first time. Some of you have watched my South by Southwest keynote talk before called Impact. Some of you also know some of the award we have received. I was one of the 10 CNN Visionary Women, 40 over 40 award. So we've been privileged to be recognized our work. But however, what's really important for us is with the recognition, there's all those entrepreneurs out there knowing about our mission, our passion to make a difference in having more female entrepreneurs out there being really, really successful. So let's begin the conversation and what does beyond the funding conversation looks like. First of all, I don't know what stage you are, and unfortunately I don't have a profile. So let me tell you what I'm about to talk about. I've been doing Accelerate about 3 years, and not that I have run another accelerator before, but what I have done is actually taking 6 months to literally speak over 260 people in the Silicon Valley who's been involved with women entrepreneurship support organizations, as well as a number of VCs, leader of Astia or Springboard, many thought leaders who have done this work before. And collectively, I realized there's something we must do. It's beyond just getting funding. As you know, most of the investor obviously have to have a good reason why they're invested in the startup, but also all of us running around try to get to the point. And so today, assume the funding is something we all know that we need to do, but it's really getting a funding does really a success point. It's certainly something we really, really want. But 8 out of 10 female entrepreneur become out of business and they give up in just a short year and a half. 8 out of 10, that's a pretty high number. Out of all the startup, as many of you already know this kind of statistic, 2.7% of female entrepreneurs get VC funding. So that just to kind of paint the picture of how hard it is to land on funding or actually be able to be the one who's been successful. And as I was taking a journey of really trying to trickle down to what it takes to support a female entrepreneur, all of them, many investors said, at the end of the day, we invest in founders and team. As you know, when you don't have money to pay a lot of people, you have to lead them with a passion. And in order for you to attract the funding, you have to get all those proof points to convince them that you will be the one make their investment worthwhile. The truth is, over 90% of the startups fail. They never really get to the funding. So, as you know, many accelerator, they really focusing on taking an early stage company, giving them some seed fund, but often they're not quite ready to be considered as a funding ready startup. So the question was, what are the rest of the people? What are they doing? Often they're continuing to knock the door of many other accelerator or spending a lot of time networking, right? And trying to build the relationship and feeling like never-ending journey of finding the one who gives you the ticket said, wow, I give you a validation, we'll invest it in you. And I've met so many of entrepreneurs who's really, really smart, very committed, while maybe they have a family, maybe they have kids, maybe they don't, but they're all very, very committed and has a great idea and having some traction. But one of the things that we consistently heard from other advisor and influencer is, wow, what if we can really help them and groom them so that when they said, I want to get funding, first of all, they've been assessed so that folks who's been around said, yeah, she's ready for funding. She has all the ducks in a row. 2, the team and product is up to the level of investor interest. The truth is, most of the startup founder, they actually think they're ready. But one of very well-known VC investors said to me, Ari, I have a problem. I have so many female entrepreneurs come talk to me. What they don't realize, 99% of them are not ready. They are not ready. And nobody's helping them to realize they're not ready and help them to know exactly what they have to do to get there. That was their request. And so we as a Women Startup Lab decided to take on this project and bringing a lot of investors and structures and community to get them ready. So that's the whole point of it. Beyond the funding is not just getting the money, which there's tons of YouTube and information about how you create a deck, but it's not the deck. How would you build the company, but how you as a founder present and have all the answer so that you're actually truly ready for the funding. If you've been the one who's been knocking door for accelerator and you have a gunning in, then that's great. That's one choice. And about Women Startup Lab, we're a different type of accelerator. We're a way beyond the regular accelerator. So let me just kind of take a time to explain about what do I mean by beyond funding. Before I go on, Erika, do you have any questions?
Yes, great.
Are we not on the track?
Wonderful. So our first question is, I've just moved to Silicon Valley. I'm trying to grow my business. I would like to connect with VCs. How do I grow my network and get meetings with them?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the accelerator versus us shortly. So the question about how would I meet VC? And here in the Silicon Valley, the network is actually really, really tight and a really small community. Many people come from outside. It feels like, wow, Silicon Valley is a big place. And as much as Silicon Valley people are really, really open and friendly and are ready to help people out, you see that all the time. So people get really, really inspired. But what people really don't understand is while they're being open, they're actually very critical, very judgmental, very strict. Not that they are not nice people, but think about it, right? Silicon Valley is the center of the world biggest startup mecca. And so those investors are looking for the one that they can spend the time with. So first things, if you want to meet with them, you need to have a local network, somebody who's going to recommend you. And certainly, I'm not stopping you to send the email and whatever the connection that you can use to reach out. But by the time you're actually ready, make sure you have something clear that what kind of advice you would like to get. And if you're really looking for the intro for the investment, make sure that you have all those document proof point ready. And make sure that what VC or investors looking for, in the sense they call due diligence, right? What kind of item are they having you to have to get ready for the funding? Often people just go out and saying, I'm ready for funding, and they don't have any traction or revenue has been built up. So I think in order for you to meet someone, you need to have some, obviously, network, trusted network. And I think that's a huge, huge benefit for going any accelerator. One of the things about the accelerator, they are pipeline opportunity for investor. So that's why there's money for the seed fund, right? So they will give you the cash for you to build the product, to build the team. In return, usually you give a 3%. To some places, they ask for 12% for whatever the money, right? So you as a bootstrap with early stage company, you don't have the money, therefore you get a cash, you give or pay based giving your equity. Now, let's say early stage company, your valuation's $1 to $3 million for a year or so into it. And so you pay 3 to, let's say, I'll just take 6%. You're actually paying out of your company way more than a couple $100,000 worth of equity you're giving away in return of a maybe small amount of cash. Sometimes you just need a cash, so that's totally okay, right? So what I hear often from founder that I think is a huge mistake and saying, wow, I go to accelerator, they give me free cash. And why are you not giving Women Startup Lab? And I have to say, it's like, no. They give you cash, but it's not a free cash. It's not free cash. You actually pay out of the equity, right? And so that's one way of making a path for you to grow the company. And what we do at the Women Startup Lab, we ask for 10,000. And I know people is like wondering, why do do I have to give 10,000? If you, at this point, having an investor chasing you to say, I love your idea, or I love you, you're great, and you have some traction, here's a check, please take it, right? If you got that, accelerator or investor should be chasing you right now. And if that's not happening, that will happen eventually, but how would you get there? There's a bunch of people who already done it and they fell through several times, and our advisors say we have many bruises, and we want to help entrepreneur not to have those bruises if they can avoid. And just like I said, a year and a half, 8 out of 10 company already quit. How long can you go without any salary, any money, right? So having go through accelerator in our case, we really focus on early stage company and entrepreneur like you that can really benefit learning from other advisor, and not just learning, right? Knowledge is powerful, but we actually apply it and really reshape your business model and make sure you know not only about how to build the company as knowledge-wise, but you actually work through it. So somebody give you Play-Doh, you've been playing with it, but you actually have a number of influencer, advisor, instructor, and other female entrepreneur in the program actually play the Play-Doh with you. So we're in a very much collaborative environment that you get to actually rehash through everything you built. So instead of a year and a half and in, you quit it because you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But in 2 weeks, in our program that continue to support all the way to the following year, you actually get to have that much of clear vision of what you have to do, what you have to say, what kind of result you have to have in order to get that funding that you need. And I hope it's not just about like chasing a fund, but you really focusing on you as a founder, what you need to do, because you the power of everything. You make a decision. You attract the investor. You attract the team. You're the one who make a decision about the product. And you don't want to do it alone. And you could do it with some advisor. But during the 2 weeks of our program, you have day and night, solid 2 weeks, over 50 advisor and peer founders and everybody else that come in and help you to look at what is your success path. So you're not spending time failing and trying and figuring out all by yourself. And that's part of the program. The other part is we only limit up to 9 female entrepreneurs. So many other accelerators, just they're VC. And I'm sure you have heard of this. it's numbers game. More company they get to see and invest, about 7 or 8 years, one of them will hit jackpot. And then that success will pay off everything. That's the word. That's the number game they're playing to get the investment return. Our cases, our success is measured by your success. And it's not limited by going IPO or getting your funding only, but you continue to stay in the business and build the great company that you dream of, and a great company that may be lifestyle business that turn it into scalable business that VC invest, and it may be IPO. But we're not VC investor here. We want you to be successful in your term where you continue to stay in the business. And we will continue to introduce you the resources that we have. And that's how it kind of works. Instead of looking at it as like just the funding.
Great.
Somebody had it.
Yes. I have a wonderful question here from Carrie. She says, do most VCs want to see an angel round, and do angels want to see a friends and family round?
That do most of VC want to see? What does that mean, wants to see?
Prior to offering any funding to somebody, do they
I
want
see.
them to have already garnered some support?
Yeah, I mean, if you're an investor, right? If you have 100,000 in your hands, you wanted to invest in someone that has some sort of a proof point. And a proof point could be customers saying, yeah, I like it, or friends and family or angels had a relationship with you saying, yeah, we really trust in her. The other thing is, you as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to ask for money, right? And if you can't even get your friends and family to give you 5 or 10,000, it's hard to convince other investors to put 100,000 or 500,000, right? And I think it's a really good indicator that they look for. Did you get, at least the basic friends or family round? And if you say yes, there's like, okay, great, check. It's not like 80% off, like huge checkpoint, but at least they know that, okay, she got that part. So regards to money, we do at the Women Startup Lab, we have an amazing community of investors and corporate and angel and a philanthropist that actually puts the money to sponsor female entrepreneur. But collectively, our community and advisor said, we don't believe in giving a full scholarship. We don't want to give it, let's say, $10,000 fee for the program. Why should we give it to them? They can even raise, $5,000 or $10,000 to invest in themselves. And if they can't do that, then I don't think we should invest our time and their money for those who can't do the basic. And that's something that our philosophy of bringing an amazing community together and continue to support female entrepreneurs beyond our program. That was something that everybody said. We want to have an entrepreneur that has a skin in the game. And I think if you put yourself as an investor too, or you are the advisor, you want work with entrepreneur. We have a community of people who really, really, really want to help, right? And many of them are angels. Many of them are serial entrepreneurs, so they know a lot of great VC in Valley. And so they come in with a mentality of, who can I help today? And I think that's what you want. The door is already open for you. And whether they said, okay, go through my door or not, they want to have a conversation. They want to see how you have a potential. And just to tell you, many of our graduates, after they go through our program, it's beyond the funding. It's really about building that relationship. It means something. So many of our advisors become their advisor. Many of them actually gave them seed fund. And when we track some of the graduate, 30% of our graduate successfully raised their fund. Some actually through our direct network. But also, among the entrepreneur best friend that they made, they also share a lot of information. So before, you might be just a single entrepreneur who's working really, really hard. After our program, it's like you leave with a village with you, right? And you want, while you're working on whatever you have to work on, you have such a big community now know you, promote you, and talk about you, and then champion you throughout. That's a huge, huge value. Yeah.
Okay. So next question that's came in, we want to know if you can give us 3 pieces of advice for female founders who just launched their startup and are looking to make an impact.
So launched the 3.
So top tips for someone that's just launched, looking to go and get funding, looking to make a larger impact.
Well, the investor looking for the momentum, right? So making sure all the ducks in a row is, obviously you have a very professional deck done, you have a pitches done, but some sort of a customer traction and a revenue. But also they're looking at the advisory board, right? And saying that who do you have? Who do you surround yourself? It's really, really important. And getting that high caliber advisor standing for your vision, there's many hours of networking. And when you don't have that result yet, and when you got that result, then you go out to get advisor. And when you think about it, a year and a half just go by just like that, right? And so the things that we really recommend is obviously having attraction, the customer supports, and having an advisory board, solid advisor who supports you, and some sort of like nuggets, like this is what I'm different about. It could be anything. It could be about you. You have a very solid expertise in that industry. You've been thought as a thought leader. It could be that you are from a small town and you build this awesome product and you have a team, but you actually gone through the accelerator. And having Silicon Valley Accelerator graduate, it actually boosts its confidence level so much. So I'll give you an example. Some of the founder, they have been in conversation with many angels. And then those folks said, I like the idea, come back when you have a proof point, right? How many of you have heard that, right? And if they are truly interested, go back to those people and say, I am going to accelerator, can you support me? And some of the entrepreneur, once they got accepted by Women Startup Lab, they went back and said, look, I got this opportunity. I'm going to Silicon Valley, I'm going through Women Startup Lab. Look at all those advisors available to have a personal contact with me. And they look, wow, you have all those advisors, very, very famous. And I said, don't even, question it. Here's a 10,000, go for it. I mean, it's cheap compared to, the equity you have to give out. And so, just think about utilizing a place like us, utilizing an advisor name that you get to meet and build a relationship through Women Startup Lab. Yeah.
Great. Our next question was a little bit tailored to that, so maybe you can expand a little bit more. But they're asking, how important is being in Silicon Valley to my success? And do I need to move to Silicon Valley in order to garner more success?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because I think there's a perception part and there's your personal part. Personally, many people come here and they just want to be here, right? Part is, wow, people get me. People get excited easily. And some people, this is the first time, all the effort that they have put in, every single person they meet are so positive and feel like finally people get you. So there's a personal part of you feel like if I come here, the magic will start happening. And I think being a founder, it's so important that you have that support structure. So if you financially, you have friends here, different personal environment or situation, if you can be here, I think it's just going out here, it's a great opportunity. Now, from the business point of view, obviously it's a cost that is going to occur being here, and that's a big burden. So most of people who move out here because they're actually ready for funding, right? They have all the nuggets and they're really ready to get funding. And so the amount of money is available in Silicon Valley, amount of the meeting you could set up, I hear it over and over, that's just something so attractive that people want to move. And so my question would be, as much as you personally want, so your personal feeling, it put it on the side, you as a business person, are you really ready to get funding? And just to remember, it's not that Silicon Valley is the greatest, but consider Silicon Valley is the best of the best come here. And do you think you can compete against that? And let's say early stage company, you haven't got Series A, pre-Series A company. We would love to have those company who has some basic traction, and we would like to help those startups so that they actually start building a relationship with the Silicon Valley advisor and investor, and spend the time here and anchor that relationship and really shape up your corporate structure, the strategy, and the revenue model, all that here with us, with our advisor. And so you become really focused, not guessing, but like you really go through the reshape, because a number of advisors going to challenge you, right? So you became this like pretty shape up the person. And then you go back home. But now you're doing all the things you need to do. You might not quite ready to get funding, or you're almost there, but there's tons of work need to be done. So go back home. But now, as if you're in the Silicon Valley, you can have those dialogue with all our Silicon Valley advisor in a weekly basis if you choose to, and establish that trust, right? That's powerful, right? You don't need to be in the Silicon Valley, but what matter is that high caliber advisors in your daily basis conversation. And you can be with your family and your team at a much, much lower living cost. And you can actually accelerate much faster. And those advisors that here in the Silicon Valley say, yeah, you're ready. Of course, you have to continue to talk about funding. I'm not asking you to stop, but you really think that you got everything lined up. Then you move out here. I think that could be a really positive thing. The other thing I just want to add, having that Silicon Valley network, having that I'm a graduate of a Silicon Valley accelerator, that gives that extra kudo, right? So you go back regional and you might become one of the most desirable startup in your region, right? And that's nice to have, that little nuggets of I finished the Silicon Valley accelerator, and then that make them more attractive in that area, region. Yeah.
And that's great, because I have a question here that says, I'm in Europe, I have my tech startup. Is it interesting for me to come to Silicon Valley to attend your program?
Definitely, definitely. So what we have observed, we have application around around the world, and what we often observe is from the startup from European country, actually outside of Silicon Valley, the funds is not available like here, right? So what happened is when they come through, they're often really, really established, because you didn't have money, investor money. So guess what? Many of the startups that are really successful to the point thinking about coming here, they already have a customer basis. So we tend to see them as a very solid, established startup, that when they come here, many of our advisors are very pleased, but not having a local network, right? Yeah. That's definitely takes time. Just because you have attraction, hey, the world, the best of the best come here. So if you can go through our program and get that network going, and 2 weeks residential, $10,000 include housing fee. I mean, housing fee itself, if you would have paid to stay 2 weeks, we actually let you stay all the way 4 weeks, right? That itself pay half of it, you know. And so the 10,000 including housing, and while here, you revisit your business model and see if that's something the par with the Silicon Valley investors' interest. Yeah.
Next question.
We can help with things like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So this next question is, I'm not funding. What do you consider to be the most important factor to scaling my startup?
No, she's not looking for funding.
Not yet.
Okay, great, great, awesome. Love that. That's one thing special about Women Startup Lab is when we don't just focusing on the company that fit for the VC, like scalable big picture startup. Again, reiterating, our mission is you as a female entrepreneur continue to build the business and being successful. So some might be fit for VC model, some might fit for angel investor, if that's what you're looking for. But you really don't want to give equity away. You think you can continue to raise fund through customer. I think that's the best way. Yeah, and so your case is you're not looking for the funding. And so what is the benefit coming here? Yeah, so I think there's just something about Silicon Valley, the caliber of advisor, right? I mean, it's amazing. And with fraction of what you have access 2 weeks and 10,000, the advisor that we have, if you go to our website, it's top notch. And literally, I have to spend, you know, shortest times 8 months to a year and a half to chase those people to learn about us, our mission, and meet and have a referral and enroll them and say, yes, yes, I love your mission. And I know you can't pay for my fee because I will charge you like $550 per hour to $1,200 per hour fee. That is the caliber of advisor that we have. And they only come here because they really want to see you succeed. And through the mission-based commitment, you as an entrepreneur, you have access to. And it's not about funding. Funding should actually fall in your lap, right? Because you're so good, right? Even if you're not looking for the funding, you are so successful. You are running your company through the revenue you create from your customer. Whether you like it or not, I think people would say, here's a check, please take it. So in that sense, having a level of advisor who has a global view, it gives you a great, not just starting point, just the beyond. And remember, you know, Women Startup Lab is committed to support you and having this committed community that interested in a long-term relationship. And some point, you decide to say, you know, I'm going to pivot. I want to play a big game, and I'm actually willing to let go of my company. I want to exit or IPO, all that, like sell the company, right? You get to the point. You already have a great community to bounce it off the idea, and you can actually figure those things out with the team and with our community of Women Startup Lab, which is huge.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So at South by Southwest, you were a keynote speaker, and in your discussion, leadership was a very important and key theme. Mm-hmm. Is that also a key skill for the female founders that come through your program, and how do they grow and become a true leader?
Yeah, that's a good point. So one of the unique part of the Women Startup Lab is we look at you as a founder is the source of success and all the decision and attracting success to come from you. And so often, if you're an investor, they're looking at the product, of course, right? But often they might not have a program to talk about you. Have you be the better one. And they only kind of sip through and they want to invest in the one who figure it out. We actually, at the Women Startup Lab, truly believe there's a lot we can do to make you to be just a great leader, to extraordinary leader, extraordinary female entrepreneur. And we have a group of professional, powerful leadership coaches who specifically work on every single one of the entrepreneur. We have them take the personality test. We have them send out their peer to get feedback from the people they work with you, and we analyze that. And we have a professional coaches that work on your strength and talk about the vision, and specifically work on the mindset. I think many of you, if you're an entrepreneur, you became so passionate about your idea and startup. But the side effect of that is you lose sleep over those things, right? I had those nights, many of entrepreneurs, trying to figure out, waking up in the middle of the night and wondering, am I doing the right thing? Is there any other things that I should be doing? Oh my gosh, I have to build a relationship with that advisor, but I don't have money, I don't have enough team. Oh, okay, I'm gonna get funding. Well, you're not quite ready for funding, and then you go right back, right? So what we do is working on mental structure of you as a founder, how you have to think differently. And so that you have less stress, less overwhelmed feeling. And then you have this advisor to help you on the startup side of strategy. So you become a lot more clear, calm, and confident about what are you aiming, right? And then we also work on a charismatic presence. There's something about some startup founder that you meet and they're on it, they're killing it, they can articulate, and they have the energy, and you start believing anything they say. Maybe not true, but that energy, right? And that's come from some sort of a charismatic presence, which come from being confident, being clear. And when you have that, the amazing work that we do with those professional coaches, you get something you never realized was available. So I'll just give you an example. 90%, over 90% of our graduates who have taken the 2 weeks program said that this was beyond their expectation. They assumed this must be blah, 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 but when they come through, we did a lot more work on 101, the customization about their strategy, and work on them as a leader, as a founder. And so people have been really, really surprised and satisfied, and many of them said, wow, this is beyond $10,000. This is cheap. It's more like $80,000. I've gone through other accelerators. Some people have taken a lot of those classes, and it costs a lot more, but nearly, that intensive in a small group. So that's what I've been hearing. The other things we hear is, because we focus a lot on the founder, the result is something as the founder described as, this was a life-changing experience. And when's the last time you had this 9 awesome people who speak your language and get you what you go through, and going through this really, really tough program for 2 weeks? Inside out, not just knowledge, but the heart, right? And the guts, like gut-wrenching fear that we deal with. And when you go through that kind of intent, when's the last time you had those? And then you leave 2 weeks with that strong bond, being the best friend that you never thought you'll have again. But they are all kind of going the same path, which is really, really powerful. And so that's something we work on and make, see the huge differences. Founder get many advisor, the investor who was on the sideline, notice it, like significantly notice it, and said, come talk to me. I'm going to invest it in you. And those things do really happen because they start seeing the difference in you.
Okay. Next question we have is, what is a typical day like in the program? And can you tell us a little more about the advisors who come?
Yeah, okay. So we used to be really friendly. So Sunday night, before your program starts on Monday, we used to have this reception. And people shows up and they relax and drink wine, stuff like that. But you came here because you wanted to be that CEO, founder. And whether you like it or not, you're gonna get judged every moment of it. And what we noticed that even the reception, our investors or advisor or instructor come through, they're already making a judgment. And many of you might already know this, but human nature, they meet with you and boom, in first to 4 seconds, they make a judgment on you. And that stays. And those glance when you go to meet up, they look at you and they kind of look over and they go away. Right? Many of a women entrepreneur feel that way, like they've been looked over. And so we really take your first impression seriously. So the first day, sorry about raving on this, but we have you go through the first pitches. And if you don't pass, you can even get in the reception. So that's one. And then from Monday, the session starts at 8:45, all the way goes to 6:30. And that happens every single day. And the first Saturday, we have all afternoon Saturday field workshop. You'll be at the Union Square and working with a stranger, working with our team, and really practicing being the confident presenter regardless of any situation. People walking away, people might not get your idea. So it's like really put in the test and a practice over and over. What is your message? So we do that on a Saturday. And then the second week, it goes on again. Your question probably be, okay, how does it, what do we go through? So those are pitches, investor pitches. And we don't just teach you how to say, but we actually look at your revenue model and your messages and audience, and I challenge you if that's the right business model or content that you should put in the pitches. And we also work on the storytelling. Storytelling is really, really important. I'm sure many of you have heard that so many investors said, oh, we really like the startup founder that has a passion. And a passion doesn't come from just giving number and number and number in the deck, but you actually tell the story. And it's actually quite difficult. So we do hours of those to really pull the authentic story about you that investor and everybody else is like, wow, I get her. I want to be part of that vision. And then we go through customer assessment and having a whole go-to-market strategy and looking at the audience is the right fit, how you're going to validate. And we also have some of the gender engineering or the conversation about how a social behavior and how the men and women's brain works differently. And we specifically do this because you as a female entrepreneur, the number tells you that we don't get a lot of investment. Number tells you that we tended to get ignored. We could argue all we want, right? But that doesn't make any differences. And so what we really focus on Women's Startup Lab is what can we do at the end of the day? And knowing how people judge you, knowing how men respond better by a certain type of communication, how women resonate with a certain type of people, and in knowing your own unconscious bias as well as biases by investor or male investor, it makes you that much more aware of how you want to present yourself and how you want to prepare yourself. So those are the things we do. One of the important things that I forgot to mention, the first day is really, really critical. We bring about 5 or 6 different experts, our advisors. So some are VC, angel, marketing expert. They have been helping in many, many startups. Also designer and serial entrepreneurs, right? So we bring different people in the Silicon Valley that has experience helping startups. And the first day, you will go in the room alone and you present. And we ask you to leave the room. And all of us, closed door, really honestly talk about what's wrong, what worked, but mostly what we think that you really, really need to focusing on in order for you to get the next big things. It could be funding, it could be next inflection point, but my last 2 years experience, the group doesn't split so much. And if we do, we simply, at the end of the day, you, the founder, we're very founder focused. So we present, we think you could go this way or that way. If you go this way, you have to do this. And we try to really reshape you by having all the brightest mind in the room to really set the tone about the direction you need to go. So I'm sure some of you experienced this, but you have a many advisor. And at the end of the day, you just have advising blow up. You just don't know who's telling you the truth anymore. You don't know which one to choose. So these days, that first day of our program, we have those brightest mind to come together and give you more consolidated direction that you should take and focus on. And that's really, really powerful. So that you're not trying to figure out, sorting out everybody else's opinion. So,
next question. So Ari, we'd like to know if you could share some insight into what investors are looking for exactly, and more importantly, what they're not looking for.
So what investors are looking for and what they're not?
Right.
Well, what they, I mean, it depends, angel and VC, right? And each VC and angel, they have their thesis, like their reason that they're focused on. This is how we think this type of the company or this type of industry, this type of the business is going to grow. So they all has reasons. So don't think all the investors the same. And some of you have gone through the funding process with the investor. You know this. So this might be a really early stage conversation, which is really, really important. And we have many founders think that this is investors the same, and they're not. They're really not. And you need to do the homework, because VC is one thing. They look at the very different type of the business. And angel, they're looking at making money over 10 years. And because they like your idea, they might just want to help you, want to give you a chance. VC, that's not their money. They got money from somebody else. So their job is to just find a great idea, good business, that they know it's going to be a unicorn. They're looking for unicorn, right? So you need to really study what they're looking for. First of all, know the differences between VC and angel. And each of them has different focus. So go to their site, read up about that ventures, and look at what kind of company they have invested in the past. And then even contact those startup and said, hey, I know you got funding from those company. What do you think about them? What are they really focusing on? And that's a great question to ask. And I want to share this with you, one short story. I have one founder who was constantly asking me for the introduction. And introduction is great, but really what you want to know is I'm speaking for the investor. I need to know what they're looking for. So when I introduce, they appreciate and they will listen to my introduction, knowing that I won't send something that they're not interested, right? But sometimes you're at the party, you don't need to be always, just the deal flow kind of intro. You could say, hey, at the party, she's great. I want you to know. That's easy. I can introduce as many people as possible. If at the party, I can bring all of you together, right? That case, you don't need to be like that ready. But one of the things I said to this particular founder is, I just want you to know, they are not looking for the company like yours, and they're not going to fund you. And she got really offended. She thought I was telling her she's not good enough to get funding. And as a matter of fact, I was giving her really, really important information. So she doesn't stupidly try to pitch her company or they're not interested in, right? That shows that you're not prepared. And so I was giving her information that they don't invest in an edutech company. And she got really, really offended and telling her that she's not ready. Don't ever tell me whether I'm ready or not. You're not in the position things like that. And so I think it's really, really important that you're aware how things work in the industry and understanding the investors' need. It's on you to do that study, not just being passionate and repeating your startup over and over as many investors as possible. That's not the strategy.
Great. Okay.
I wish I could see all of you so I can have actually dialogue. I feel like talking.
I saw WS Lab has 80 plus alumni, including domestic and international founders.
Yeah. Can
you share any success stories and talk about the power of peer support?
Yeah, many actually. 80 entrepreneurs have a graduate, and I'll just give you quick stats. 2 of them had an exit. One is an AI company and being bought by IBM, part of the Watson, just amazing entrepreneur. And the other was a golfing company being bought by a media company. And others had a successful merger, and other continue to grow their company and having a great funding. So Series A, and angel rounds, that sort of stuff has been happening. Out of that 80, we also had people being accepted in 500 startup as well as a Y Combinator. Those are really, really great accelerator and have a network and funding opportunity, and just having their brand makes huge difference. And I know those accelerator also look at startup founder that come through, our accelerator or any other accelerator. They know that they do a solid grooming. What was the original question?
About the peer support.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. So those are some of the results going to the accelerator and peer support. So through our community, some of the entrepreneurs, they graduate and our advisor became their advisor. One had a merger offer, and she didn't know what to do, and she came to me and I said, oh, go to that advisor who have done the merger before. And that person stepped in and became COO to help with that merger to be facilitated. And they did really, really well, right? So can you imagine all those opportunities happen? And as an entrepreneur, a never-ending problem-solving person, but you do need a variety of advisors that you can call to. And the question is, do you have that wide the range of network? And when you go through Women's Startup Lab, you have that peer-to-peer and advisor network. The other things that many entrepreneurs graduate, and the first thing they said, the network, the friendship that we built among founders is just amazing. And they said that was just truly, truly profoundly, they appreciated, they take on. So batch 4? Batch 4 finished about a year ago. And I still talk to them. They text me all the time saying what's going on with them. But they can't believe it's been a year because they're talking among themselves through Facebook or WeChat. They provide the support so much every single day, they said. When they actually try to change the name, they ask us, should I change the name? One of the founders, alum, came back and said, gosh, I am still talking to the community is so close. And she sent an email message out to the group, said, hey, my co-founder just left. And I'm like, the pitch is coming up next 2 weeks. And in such a critical time, my founder just screwed me up. Co-founder just left. And she was devastated. And she didn't want to tell other advisor because she wanted to make sure that she looked all ready for the funding activity, right? Investor pitch. And so she reached out to her community and confidentially said, I'm so screwed. I don't know what to do. I'm crying. And those founders stepped in and said, talk to me anytime, midnight, I don't care. One of the founders said, is she the one who's taking care of the financial side? It's like, yes. Well, send me all the document. I will look at it. I'll help you. So the founder actually stepped in and really kept her together. And I hear a story like this over and over. Mm-hmm. And I think many of the founders also leave the program saying, when I have money, I will invest it in you. and the trust that they have. The other thing that I've also seen that sometimes some of the company decide to not continue their startup, and then they'll stop, and then they join another startup, other founders company. And one of the company that went into 500 startup, she ended up hiring one of the other peer founder who were kind of going through a tough time, and she ended up having her join to go through 500, but then both of them has a profile to say, I went through 500 startup. So things like that. It's amazing how after the program, you continue to have that support structure blossom.
And South by Southwest winner, Craver?
Oh yeah, so we just finished our batch 8, and they came in and they knew they have a pitch that they have to do at the South by Southwest, and they just took first place. So congratulations for Craver. We have a Jackie Bongarden, has a company called Cruisin'. I mean, she went to any pitch and she always took first place. And she was just so good how she managed investment conversations. She had, tracking every single investor's conversation, and she knew inside out about number. And so one of the things she said was, once she got the pitch ready at Women Startup Lab, she literally practiced, and she can 100 times, so she can actually say it without thinking. And she said, not because I need to memorize, I want to use every single ounce of my brain power analyzing the investor's face. So as I'm talking, if I get to the number and I know which investor perked up, and I know when I talk about market size, I know one of the investor looked away. And so I know how to emphasize my follow-on Q&A, knowing how my investor reacted. And you just meet that kind of an amazing founder, and that's the kind of takeaway. Many of the entrepreneurs realize, me as founder, I have to do this. This is how much I had to train myself to be the top caliber startup founder.
Okay, we're down to our last couple minutes. So our final question will be, how do I know if my startup fits with your program?
Okay, that's a really good question. It's not for everybody, let me say that. We specifically look for the startup entrepreneur who are very, very open to learn and have a collaboration attitude. And a founder who really focusing on their growth. They're humble, they're also are eager to grow, and they are really hungry to have straight, tough advices. So one thing that every single advisor in the community they look for is she open and she's coachable. There's a lot of superstar, smart entrepreneurs out there that I got it all. We tend to be like that. That's great. And they will be successful with our accelerator or with us or any other accelerator. But what we have collectively observed by supporting many entrepreneurs, many advisors said, those entrepreneurs succeed, got to the point, and they become stagnant because they really don't know how to be coachable. And so if you kind of like to be Lone Star and I can figure out it myself, and you're gonna just go on and like you can decide and move on, and you're good at compete and just move on. And I think there's tons of accelerator that focusing on rock superstar, I got it all type of, compete to win type environment. There's tons of out there. And so I think you thrive in that. I think other accelerator is great. Our case is we particularly look for the long-term relationship, collaborative focus entrepreneur who really thrive in not only working hard just like anybody else, but really value the community input, value advisors' input, and continue to be really a hardcore rockstar founder, yet humble deep inside. And those entrepreneurs thrive really well in our environment, and they contribute. And because they contribute too, they get contribute back, and they get loved, and continue to have a relationship with our advisor, and eventually they get investment. We've seen many of that, and many of those out of 80, some are really good to continue to pose a question, can you help me on this? I would like to get coaching on this. And through that, they just really create this trusting relationship with the advisor. And they eventually get, investment introduction, or some of the advisors actually go in the investor pitch together with them. So it's amazing things happen with the relationship. Yeah.
Great. So we are at the end of our time. I'd just like to thank you, Ari, for being able to put on this presentation. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'd like to urge you to visit us at womenstartuplab.com and apply. We'll also be hosting upcoming sessions with the Silicon Valley Advisor, as well as one of our influential alumni. So stay tuned, and we hope to hear from you and possibly see you in our upcoming April 17th Accelerator program. So thanks so much, and see you soon.
Yeah, and my email address is ari@womenstartuplab.com. And out of this conversation, if you want to have more question, I'll be happy to connect. And yeah, I hope opportunity to support you, not just through the program, it's beyond. You'll be really excited to meet all those people who really committed for your success. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye.